Welcome to the GSUTV podcast, where Georgia State's brightest voices, students, faculty, and VIPs come together to share their stories. Ready to hear some powerful messages? Let's dive in. Welcome to our inaugural podcast for GSUTV. My name is Octavia Nasr. And this podcast is going to be interviews with students, GSU students, faculty, and guests. We're starting with 3 students of the practicum. We're at the close of the semester. So in this podcast, what we want to do is get to know you. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, us. That's right, exactly. Having each and every one of you. That's great. So let me introduce you real quick. First of all, Alex Berry.
Hi.
Hi, Alex.
How are you?
I am fine. And I remember you from our first class where you were like sitting in the front and ready for this class, ready for the practicum.
On time.
Do you remember
I was
that?
on time. Yes. For some reason, I decided to sit in the front. I don't know why.
I'm glad you did.
I'm glad I did.
It kind of told me a lot about you, I have to say. That you're
What?
serious, that you want to be here, that you're ready, that you're gonna, and you look like you're gonna be the first one to submit your project.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see about that. And then Raymond Paul Sekandi.
That's right.
And
Hello.
I will be asking you about the Paul
Okay.
and why it's important to make sure that it's there. We'll talk about that. But, my first impression of you, first you arrived late to the first class.
Sure.
And,
I remember that.
Right?
Mhm.
And today you arrived like right on time, but also at the end of class, I think our class ended at like maybe 4:45, and Raymond is looking at his watch and looking at me like, So it's really wonderful to see that you're here on a day that you don't have to be in class and joining us on this podcast. Wonderful. And of course, welcome to Diego Alvarado. Also another student who made an impression on me on the first day, because you also were kind of, close to the front, but you were very attentive.
Right.
So I have to say to our audience that we did not say you're going to be in the first podcast. We did not say you're going to be in the inaugural. It just happened this way. So it's interesting that all 3 of you have something that is memorable about our first encounter, and hopefully we'll talk a lot today about all of that. So welcome to our podcast. Then Alex and Raymond and Diego, I really appreciate you being here today. The first thing I want to do is really get our audience to know who you are. So you are students of Georgia State University. Who's graduating?
I
I
am.
believe so.
Oh, both of you are graduating. That's awesome. So you're graduating.
I got one more semester.
Close. Yeah.
Okay, one more semester.
So in the spring.
So, so the first thing I want to do is maybe spend a couple of minutes each just talking about who you are. And I know this is a big question when we say to them, who are you? Yes, who is Diego Alvarado? And it's like, but really what I want is to get to know you. So yeah, let's see. Let's start with you, Diego.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Georgia State University student. I've been born and raised in Atlanta. I have 3 older brothers. They're in their like 40s, and the one closer to me is like 30. So kind of like almost a only child for the most part, at least growing up. Things I like to do, especially as of late, and just because of journalism, is just finding a lot of events. I like to just go to anything I can find, honestly, just to get to meet people, get to experience a lot of things that before I might have been too nervous to. And I like to bake and do a lot of things I find them like therapeutic.
Well, thank you very much. You did great with the time. Thank you. How about you, Raymond?
So my story is quite unique and long, but I'm going to keep it under 2 minutes. I was born in Africa, Uganda, and I got to live there for about 9 years before moving with my entire family to the United States. My mom is a doctor here, and so she came here for school. She did majority of her school in the United States, and so she brought all of us with her. She was traveling quite a bit when I was a little boy. She was present, but a lot of her time she was gone. And so I moved to Atlanta. We moved to Atlanta. She's a double doctor. She worked at Emory Hospital, and now she is a professor in epidemiology and biostatistics at University of Georgia. So that took me to Athens, Georgia, where I grew up in Watkinsville, Oconee County. And my story is quite unique. I am a part of the LGBTQ, and being African, that has not been very easy. I have gotten to this point. It's taken me, I've been on the unconventional path of 6 years, unlike the 4-year path. But here I am. I'm beyond proud of myself for for making it to this moment, truly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I am proud of you too.
Thank you.
And I think everybody who got to know you and these two definitely will talk a little bit more about sort of this camaraderie, this partnership that was developed during the practicum. We'll get to talk a little bit about that. Thank you very much. You did very well
Thank you.
too. Under 2 minutes. How
Wonderful.
about that?
Wow.
Yes, I am impressed. What can I say? How about you, Alex?
I'll try to make 1 minute. I grew up 45 minutes south of Atlanta in Locust Grove, but if I tell people I grew up in Locust Grove, they don't know where that is.
And where is that?
So I always grew up kind of in the shadow of Atlanta. I've always loved cities. I think it's very interesting. I was very bored, frankly, with my hometown, and sometimes it's nice, but I always wanted more, I guess. I'm studying journalism and political science, so those are fun. I think politics is fascinating, which is the marker of usually a boring person. But
Not really.
well, but no, I grew up as a very quiet person. Part of that was not feeling super great with the people around me. I feel different from the general guy from Locust Grove. I came out as gay when I moved to Atlanta, just openly to people. It's been a very welcome change. But no, Locust Grove's fine. But it's, I love Atlanta. It's a good city.
It's home.
It's home now. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Don't
So-
tell my mom that.
I think mom is going to see this anyway. We can't,
Yeah, I know.
We can't prevent mom from seeing this, and I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that. Just like any, especially if they live here in Atlanta. So,
Right.
So that's wonderful. Now I want to shift a little bit to your relationship with GSU. Right. Let's talk a little bit about, I love GSU. Right. Both my kids go here. Actually, one of them graduates with her MBA tomorrow. Next week.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
She did her undergrad here. My other daughter, business, also here. I did my master's degree here, so I'm teaching here. So I love GSU.
The legacy.
Yes,
The legacy
yes,
continues.
We love GSU.
We do.
Yes.
And I find that we cannot say enough about GSU. Like, sometimes people like to bash, not because they want to bash GSU, but because they want to claim that because they're somewhere else at a different school that this school is better and all that. So I want to take this opportunity to really brag on GSU.
In terms of majors, in the course of, high school on, I have changed what I thought I wanted to do about 90 times. Originally I applied for GSU going for a mathematics major. I like math, but I thought math would be interesting if I could have it my way, which I guess I could, but a history major, studying history is very, very interesting to me, but I didn't want to get too deep in academia, and I didn't want to teach, which there are more things you can do with that degree, but I also enjoy writing, and documenting. So journalism was a nice fit, and then I'm very interested in politics, and political science was married with that quite nicely as well. So that's how I ended up with my current major, but I changed it so many times.
Why? What was when you say that, it just seems like it was not an easy thing that you went through. You didn't do it just like that. But
No.
why do you think you changed so many times?
Part of it's with me just being indecisive in the first place. Another part is definitely trying to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life, which is a daunting task. And it leads to a lot of different changes, and depending on where I am in life at that moment, I might, see a completely different future for myself. So it's picking a road to go down, which is, what if I pick the wrong one? So there's a lot of anxiety with that decision, but I feel happy with where I am now.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
How about you, Raymond?
So me coming to Georgia State I've always loved the city. I've always been a city boy, but I also knew that having grown up in Watkinsville, Georgia, University of Georgia is right there, and my mom being faculty, she honestly wanted me to go to Grady, but after discovering myself, I found community here in Atlanta in 2018 when I came out to my parents. I've always been out to my friends, and anyone who had met me just kind of knew where I felt, but that's when I officially opened my mouth and told my parents that I was gay. And that's the summer I remember that I found community here, and a lot of my friends went to Georgia State. My best friend went to Georgia State. So I knew broadcast journalism. I've always known that I meant to be some type of TV host, TV anchor from 10 years old. I was watching Fox 5 News, Roy Spencer. I would be envisioning myself and every night when they would stand in front of the camera ahead of the news, and this is Fox 5 News at 10 p.m. looking into the camera, and I'm like, that's gonna be me. This has to be something like me. And so I've always known that I'm going into TV journalism, TV entertainment, and I ended up at Georgia State. But I started at a community college, University of North Georgia in Oconee, the Oconee campus, and COVID-19 happened. I could have applied then, but a lot transpired. So I was a little nervous. Very confident person in myself, but I was also a little skeptical. School doesn't really come naturally to me. I have ADD. And so I was a little nervous about my grades. So when I applied to get into GSU and got the email, I was like, oh my gosh, this was once a dream. And now I'm literally going to be walking it. So that's how I ended up at Georgia State. And I've loved every single minute. The people that I've encountered here, so many different people from all walks of backgrounds. I mean, just wonderful. Everyone has a story at Georgia State, is what I love. Yeah.
Diego.
I'd say starting back in high school, I was always very artistic. I was in the yearbook program. I did IB art, which was very intensive. And so initially I thought I'd be going into art or on the flip side, computer science. The art side of that would be I just loved video games, honestly, and I wanted to have some involvement in that. But after I think my first year at GSU, I switched to journalism from computer science, and that was because I just suddenly met a lot of people. I became politically involved, and there was a significant amount of passion that I just didn't feel before. And then I was kind of holding off on it just because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this. And, did I want to choose journalism specifically? Then COVID ended up hitting, and there's a lot of alone time, a lot of self-reflection, a lot to think about myself. And I remember waking up for a computer science class, and I realized I don't think I want to do this anymore. I think I got into editing my own YouTube videos in relation to video games, like video essays and things of that nature. And I remember just working on the technical side of it, and then I got more into news because I was politically involved, and then I decided I want to work in journalism, and then I finally decided to go through that change, and I appreciate a lot of the people that I met at GSU for making me realize that. A lot of self-discovery happened at GSU as well, but with sexuality as well. I am bisexual, and I knew that in high school, but coming to accept it, I think happened during these 4 years here. And then a lot more personal battles that just happen to happen in college. Because I do suffer from like anxiety and depression, so I do find it difficult sometimes. But I've always had a support system here in so many of my battles, and so many of my friends did end up going here, so I felt like I could always do it, thankfully. So, yeah.
That's
Nice.
pretty amazing. If you're joining us, this is the GSUTV podcast, and our guests today are Alex Berry, Raymond Paul Sekandi, and Diego Alvarado, all three students in the practicum class. That's Journalism 4030 at GSU. It's a signature class, and this is the end of the semester when we talk to the students about who they are, their journey at GSU, and also their experience with the practicum.
In 2023, I've come to terms with accepting that people are going to literally think they'll meet you and form a story and run with it, whether it's true or not, like without even talking to someone. And that's helped me grow in this journey that I'm in. Like my best friend, who is now an ex, we've grown apart. Like that friendship has run its course, and we were very beneficial. He would like held me through some of the darkest times of my life in terms of just being by my side, just checking in. When I came out gay to my parents, that was like, to me, a life altering. Like literally, some people will even say, like in the gay community, it's either basically like your parents let you go, or you keep on putting up like an act. And that was it for me. Like I thought I was gonna go to the military at one point. I literally said yes because I was just so miserable. Like I took the ASVAB.
Wow.
I took the ASVAB, but then I'm very strong in my faith and God. Literally that entire time, because both parents were like, yeah, go take the ASVAB. So my dad is coming with me, trying to fix the son. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But obviously, like and so I'm going with him, and it's just kind of like, in those moments, I'm so frustrated, but I picture like going into the office and meeting these military men who literally would come to my high school trying to recruit. I'm looking the other way, passing them in the hallway. And so now I'm here to take the ASVAB, which I failed, miserable, number one. And they were like, oh, if you're in ADD medicine, you can't do this. And that saved me, because I was like, I need my meds. I need to focus. And my mom was on board with that. She was like, well, if he can't have his meds, but not that like, but that took her back in a sense that like, I know he needs his meds, so let's steer clear of that part. But yeah, but they still wanted me to stay in school. Like I failed out at UNG, went on suspension. And so like having this whole story and being able to make it in just a couple of days, and seeing how much I've pushed myself amidst all the trials and tribulations is just a testament to my faith, hope. I carry a lot of hope in myself, and just hope in the world, so. But I feel you about, like I manifested and prayed to live off of Exit 250. And that's where I lived, I would come to Atlanta and like hang out with the gay community. I remember my first Pride. My parents cut off my phone.
Really?
Because they were very upset that I was at Pride. And so here I am running around, little old me. But I'm like, love is love wins, baby, love wins. I'm like, I can't even get an Uber.
Yeah.
There's no data. I'm like,
Guess
I'm
I'm
like,
walking.
connect me to your hotspot, please. Everyone's looking at me crazy. I'm like, no.
Listen.
Just connect me. I need to get here. We're in the car. Like, I really am faith. Like, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, the faith that got me here, I can't even fathom.
Yeah.
So, here we all are.
I want to ask the two of you, how much does this story
Resonate.
not just resonate, but how much of it is true
Oh.
to you both?
Yeah, no, it was listening to it was a little emotional as well because I've always I've been fortunate to have a very accepting family. I recognize not everybody gets that, which makes me sad, but at the same time, it makes you realize what you have and don't take anything for granted. But no, Atlanta's definitely a place where I found myself. That's part of why I came here as well, as opposed to going somewhere else, because I wanted to be in the city. I live in Midtown as well.
Right,
I'm at
yeah.
251,
Yeah,
so
right.
so it's the place to be. It's the if you're in the South and you're
in a small town.
in a small town or some sort of gay or queer, Atlanta's the place to go. I remember my first Pride. I was fortunate enough. I went with my boyfriend, and
Oh my
it
God,
was
unreal. You
Unreal.
were crying. the
yeah,
entire
it
time.
was such an incredible
BB
thing
Rex
to.
performed to me, and I was like, I'm a mess. I was like screaming that. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
a mess. I'm a liar. Like, oh my God, love.
Yeah, no, but
I'm like, I'm standing here. All my
Yeah.
friends are
Yeah.
like surrounding me. I'm like, each of these people have a story that is just so, and that's what gave me also hope, because I remember when I had just come out and things were literally in the ground, like the ground opened up and my life changed, but I knew I had to just stand there. Like I had to make that decision and look my parents in the eyes and say, this is who I am.
Exactly.
Take it or leave it.
Mm.
A lot is going to change for me. Support from them financially, all that.
Right.
A lot of people are like, oh my God, like my parents, I knew that would come, but I was like, everything will work out in the end. And it has.
Mhm.
It literally has.
And I'm gonna come back to this
Yeah.
because I want you to tell me about the transition. I mean, it's nice to know that some parents are accepting, they're
Right.
understanding, but when you hear the stories of people who had to, like
yeah.
how you described it, the ground fell off, and all of a sudden, like you're in a free fall,
Yeah.
and you need your family for support. So, how about you, Diego? Any of this kind of resonates or speaks your truth?
Yeah, it does. Well, I was fortunate enough to grow up in Atlanta, right? So obviously the community is here, but given I come from Mexican parents, and we do live in a neighborhood that is primarily Mexican, some aren't very accepting. And there's a weird situation, I guess, I would be in because I was aware of it in like high school, but it was kind of hard for me to accept it because at high school around friends, I could feel way more free. I could talk about it. But when you come home to your parents and the people that you live around, and just like neighbors or people that I would see at the bus stop, it's just kind of like you just wash yourself out. So going back and forth was very daunting, especially visiting family. I very much just kind of like would hide myself a lot. I think my first experience really feeling truly free was I was in a governor's honors program, and we went to Berry College.
Oh, yes, Barry.
No relation, unfortunately.
And I think it was a couple weeks there, and it was with friends that I already knew and just very accepting, very passionate people. So academically, very stimulating, but also just socially, I just felt so accepted. It's so nice. And then I did go to my first Pride in high school, and I felt very free with everything. I am fortunate, again, to grow up in Atlanta, but I will say there's a lot of, weirdly enough, I learned from my parents, like, to persevere. And despite having to put up that face, at home or around my culture, which does create a strange divide for a bit. Just kept on pushing. Now I feel more free.
There's always, when we talk about when people say, when I came out to my parents, or when I came out to the community, when I came out, like there's, to me, I hear it a lot, right? And that's, like you said, a life-altering thing to come out, whatever you're coming out as, because the idea of you being, right? Like you're in prison, like you're held back, and you're coming out, right? Like there is.
I just posted bond, and here we are.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Officer, just let me go, everyone. I'm free.
So it's not something that that happens just like. I think people use it a lot. When I came out to, but we don't really put enough
process.
Like like give it the respect that it deserves, right? So one thing comes to my mind when people say that. I want to know, what was the feeling before coming out?
Were you guys out in high school?
No,
Right.
No,
but you knew.
Just friends, really.
Those
in
are
high school? Or
like I had
knew?
lesbian friends.
Yeah, okay.
But anyone outside of that, I was like, I was more so just kept saying, I'm not sure, but I believe I am.
Yeah, I know I'm not straight. I know I'm not straight.
Yeah.
I'm still,
Oh, I knew from middle school.
Yeah.
Like the moment I touched ground. And I remember I was in course, and one of my teachers was so upset, like loved me. Her name was Mrs. Scott. And me and Miss Scott, like we just would always laugh. Like it was just like that connection. When I would walk into class, she was like, Raymond, what do you do? Like we'd just like start giggling. And come to find out, she was also a part of the LGBTQ later on. And so throughout high school, like I knew, but I remember saying the words. Oh, that was the hardest. I had to look in the mirror at home.
So tell me about that feeling. I was scared of the reaction, and now I'm not scared
Something's
anymore.
wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. I was like, darn it.
Yeah. Life just got a lot harder.
I have girls who are friends, and I mean,
Why
I even experienced. Yeah, like I even experienced like there was that phase, the puberty phase, where people go to football games and they make out. The gossip goes around. Oh my God, did you see her? Like she kissed him on the makeout, hill. We had a makeout hill, and I participated one time with this beautiful girl, but like there was just nothing. Like I was like, oh yikes, this was. But
so part of it is really like, at least this is how what I'm hearing. Like for you to be able to live your truth. You had to come out and say, look, something is just not right here with this
with yourself
configuration.
first. With yourself.
Okay.
Like it wasn't even just, oh, my friends brought it out. No, your friends, of course, once you start talking to them, you start hearing people's experiences, yes. But looking at myself in the mirror, like my best friend, we would talk on the phone all the time, who was also gay. Like I knew it in high school, but none of us would address it.
Yeah.
So when I called him, I like was in the mirror at home, like just, I started crying. I was like, why me? Like I'm bisexual. Like I was looking at myself, trying to convince myself I'm bisexual. I'm like, I'm bi. So I called him, and he didn't even help it. He just kind of like laughed because he was also struggling with, you know what I mean? And so it was just like, I'm such a shame. Would you say like shameful? Like
and even from coming from a place where I'm fortunate enough, my mom's brother came out as gay when he was in his like 20s or so. So it's not unprecedented, and I knew the reaction generally would be good, but there's still, regardless of that, it's a personal, and it's very lonely. It's the personal kind of weight of, oh God, why? Not as much just, searching for a reason or anything, but just in the sense that, why me? Why do things have to be so much harder now? Why can't it just be, it'd be nice for everything to be easy and work out, but it doesn't. And coming to terms with that is a big part of it.
Especially if you're close with a family member, like your parents. Like me, I used to be a mama's boy. Prior to this, like super close. Anything, Raymond's mom. Like in Africa, they would say Raymond. They would literally address her as Raymond's mom. And I would walk around. My mom is here. Like, just so proud of my mother. And her having, like, the love, literally, like, seeing the love, like, go out of her, like, So, like, I mean, she claims to this day, I love you unconditionally. But, you know, seeing that literally like shift, like knowing that like
This changes
this,
everything.
this literally, like I'm never really gonna be close to her. Like it's, like it's very tough.
Yeah, I remember, I think, because I was in denial for so long. My first experience was in middle school with this nerdy guy. I'll say. But we were really close, and I remember thinking about it. But at that point, and even well into high school, a lot of my friends were just like, "Oh, Diego's just really comfortable with their sexuality as a straight man."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, right." You're like, yeah,
I think so."
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro.
But
For
I
sure.
mean, as I got more comfortable, I'm like, I do like things that aren't common for a straight man. But I was like, no, but everyone put this label on me since middle school, even though I had a crush on someone that was male.
Yeah.
No, it was just I wanted to be their friend. But it was a lot. It was a long journey. I forgot what I was going to say entirely.
Growing up in a small town, like for me, the hypermasculinity. What's up, man?
Oh,
man.
Hunting,
Yeah,
football. all
That
the-
to me, I was like, I would get so weird and awkward. It was
Yeah.
like, hey man, good to see you. Hey, how are
Hi.
you?
Yeah.
I'm like, the hypermasculinity was not cutting it for me. So when I
Right.
moved here and identified with other people like me, and they were like, dude, I hate that too. Like when they address me, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Like,
Trying
oh,
to show
wildly
how mashed they are. I'm like,
Okay.
hey bro, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
If you're joining us, this is the GSUTV podcast. We are hosting today 3 students of the practicum, the Journalism Practicum, Diego Alvarado, Raymond Paul Sekandi, and Alex Berry.
I think the first day, I mean, I struggle with this with so many things, but definitely going in there, there's a sense of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, just saying, I think the equipment was there already.
Yep.
So that already scared me. And then just everyone sitting down, watching people come in. I'm like, I don't know what I can do here. I don't know if I'm behind, you know, things like that. But, you know, go forward to now, I feel way more comfortable. I think this practicum has helped me grow in more ways than one, I think. The imposter syndrome definitely has died down. And each project, I feel like I learned something significant that made me feel more of a professional, made me feel more willing to learn. And a lot of pushes really made me like for example, I was terrified of the camera. I just wanted to use my phone because that's what I knew. And then I think by the time I was on your project, I was only doing the camera.
It's funny because you're really good at the camera.
Thank you.
You ended up being really good at the camera.
It's I don't know. I like photography and things, but for the fear for me was like, this is a project.
Yeah.
This is someone's video. If that's bad, then the whole thing could crumble.
Yeah.
And then that's when I get
You were
anxiety.
putting a
Get
lot
in
of
your head.
responsibility, like
No,
everything
yeah.
on you.
No, yeah.
Right.
And then just teamwork with people. It's something I feel like I used to
Sorry. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
No, it came out. Yeah.
What did I didn't hear that? I missed
Oh,
it.
let's
painful.
keep it pushing.
Yeah.
We'll get to that topic.
Well, yeah, that's my piece.
Yeah.
Well, being forced, and not forced, I guess.
Well.
but working with other people or knowing that I need to rely on other people is hard for me. And probably it just ended up being hard anyway. But I mean, I worked with like Alex, for example, and I think I wrote about Alex a lot where I said, just you working the camera on my project, I felt so comfortable.
Good.
I felt so
I had no idea
happy.
what I was doing.
I think a
Fake
key
it till you make it, right? Is
No,
that what
yeah.
they say? Yeah.
I didn't drop it.
Confidence.
Yeah. A key
Tell
thing
about
for me was like Professor Nasr was talking to us, and you were getting shots over there, and I just looked over, and I was like, you just look natural. You're just in a natural state, getting video, amazing shots, by the way. I use them, most of them, like all of them, and yeah, I don't know, a lot of personal growth, a lot of being able to confide in others, I guess, would be endpoint, essentially.
This class taught me that I'm very good in leadership spot. Like this, it got me into that position and it confirmed it for me. But at the same time, it pushed me to trust my gut more. And when I draw the line in the sand the first time, don't draw it again. However much, I'm very empathetic and I like to see the glass half full. Like that's just how I operate. But this class has taught me sometimes it's okay because it's right in front of your face, and you don't need to worry about.
And maybe we should explain just a little bit what that line is. Just because our audience is not going to know the details. Like we know
I'm not
that,
privy either, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not
we kind of become
familiar.
we become a family, right? Like
Right.
we really became a family or a team or a community, let's say, right? Like we know each other, to a certain degree, of course. But then when you work on a team, you end up kind of showing your true colors, right?
Yes.
So Raymond, for example, in his project, he's so nice. He kept saying, "Oh, so and so can be in my project," and so and so. He kept adding, and I kept telling him that that's too many people in a project, and he's producing. So he's basically managing everybody.
Right.
And he had a couple of situations where he had to, what you're saying, drawing the line in the sand, is basically saying, no,
I'm switching, yeah.
right,
Like,
no,
so-
this has to end. We're gonna do it this way.
Yeah,
Twice, or I'm going to take over, I'm going to do it myself.
correct.
And I think that's important to say in an interview like this,
Yeah.
because people were hoping students will watch this and say, is this class for me? Then they're going to hear you say, oh, wow, look at this. They work together as a team.
Yeah.
So what are the things that we're looking for, let's say, in a team? And all of you, please pitch in.
As a lead producer of a very big project, I took on Jackie Profile. She's an actor. Her journey has been very unconventional, but so filled with hope and encouragement. I dropped my very first project due to logistics. It just wasn't going to work.
It just wasn't going to work, yeah.
But I had already formed a group from the get-go. That group, someone didn't show up the first day of shooting. So I drew the line in the sand. I came back in here and so the Jackie Profile was like, that's a wonderful story. I'll take it on. Now I'm forming my team, and
let's say everybody wanted to be on this team.
everyone
now.
wanted. Everyone
Yeah, I
is like,
It sounds like
oh
an
my gosh,
exciting
like
project.
literally everyone was.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, national, like
Sorry.
prime time.
That's good. That's good.
And so, Alex, I remember I wanted you to be on my team,
Everybody
but
was
Raymond
psychic.
I was pressured. I was put in a very tight corner.
Not by me, we have
Not
to say.
by
Not
you.
by the
No,
professor.
not by the professor,
No,
but
definitely not.
classmates that
Yeah.
Needed to be on teams.
that needed to be on
because they didn't
teams,
do the work.
but they
early
knew
on.
exactly what they had done before.
Right.
And here I am just being I did not have any breathing space. So I had drawn the line in the sand the first time, being like, oh, I'm not putting them on my team again. This is a whole fresh new team. It needs to have like the elite people, or the people that are going to bring the teamwork that we need. And I do the line in the sand again. It comes back to bite me, and I have to fix script, video, and the narration, and it's just taught me to persevere through, but it's also taught me to think smarter, not think smarter, just work smarter, not harder.
Yes, and also be critical.
And trust your intuition.
When people are telling you,
yes.
we want to do this, to be able to say no, or to say, we're not going to be able to request to shoot an element at this studio. We'll find a different way to do it.
And
That's
also
good.
when someone just because someone has what seems to be a beautiful resume does not mean they're going to be great team players. That's a way they will use that to gaslight you into thinking, oh, this is a very incredible person.
Right.
Oh, comes to the actual product, you're like,
Oh.
now that I recall, they did mention A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I am not even seeing
Whole
A.
alphabet.
Whoa.
I'm not seeing even A of the resume.
Yeah.
So here I am,
Where to
like,
go?
got it. So gaslighting, It's real. And people do use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
Especially with people like me who are very positive and they always see the cup half full and want to help as much
But I
as
have
possible.
I have to say, from my perspective, you are a good manager.
Yeah.
You kept your poise. Your communication with me was, very on point and all that. So that's a good thing.
Right.
And also, it's important for our audience to know that when you're working on these projects, like once we're done with the class, right? Being in class, like you said, and having the equipment and learning the equipment and taking a test on the equipment, then we move to actually this room that we're in now. And then we start working as teams, and you work with me, you work very closely with me, with also Professor Chapman, and who's shooting this and also producing it for us. So with that said, Alex, chime in on the class itself and your experience and all that before we go to your specific project, which will be our last part of the interview.
I did like the class. It sounds like I've been absolutely miserable, but I do. I did enjoy the class. It was very useful. It was very practical. And it also reminded me why I don't like group projects, just in general. But I know that's life. So that's something I'm going to have to get used to.
But also, like, you can't produce, like, you can see now, how myself and Professor Chapman are working, like, this would not be produced if it's just one person doing it, right? Of course. And the more people we have, the more stuff we can do, right? That's TV production. And it's important to understand that you need to work in a group that sometimes you're not going to like the people you work with. And that's okay, because you're not here to like each other. You're here to get the work done.
Right.
And it teaches you something.
No, we wouldn't have most of the projects that we have right now if it were just a solo venture. And I think that part of that, as well, is this is the first time really in my journalism classes that I've had to work with a large team, or at least more than a few people. Most classes, it's doing it yourself, one-man band kind of thing, which, so at times I can be too independent. And I think a lot of that is a control thing. I want to be able to, this is my project, this is my grade writing on it. I want to be able to, not micromanage, but be able to have a say in the aspects of it and be able to, go in and fix something. And if anything goes wrong, it's my fault. It's not anybody else's. I can always do something about it. But the group project aspect of that is, and all of this is predicated on the fact that this is life and this is important and this is how the world works. It's all, it's based upon the fact that other people they have their own responsibilities. You're relying on other people, which is a good thing. But also at times it can be very stressful and frustrating if that's not going the way that you want it to go.
I did the Atlanta Dessert Festival, and I think it was one of the first projects for the class, and I was very nervous. I remember going out to the park to get shots of the park before and just to get an idea of how the day would go. And the entire time I'm just like thinking about, all right, it's the next day. How is this going to go? I didn't know how Alex worked. I didn't know how Brandon worked. I didn't know what to expect. Come the day of, I came very early, I think.
Yes.
So I was just walking around trying to calm my nerves down, honestly, trying to prepare myself. But doing the actual project with guidance and working with the crew, you start to get a little more at ease. I was just worried about getting interviews. Thankfully, we got the major one with the creator of the dessert festival. And then I did end up talking with a lot of people at that had booths. I think 3 people I mainly talked about. We talked to more, I'm pretty sure, but I used 3 main people. And
of course, Alex was on your team.
Yes, I worked on
camera. And I was there.
Yes.
And that was a dessert festival, so there was lots of yummies there, which we were able to kind of take a break and enjoy that.
Yeah.
What was your favorite on that?
I was jealous of the deep fried Oreos.
It was really
you didn't have that?
No,
I've never had one.
Why didn't
I've
you?
lived in Georgia for 21 years. I've never had a deep fried Oreo.
But why didn't you have one that day?
I was filming it.
Oh.
I was too busy filming them trying them.
I thought we offered it.
No, I think you did.
Oh,
I
okay. I hope
I don't hold it against you.
You missed the
Yeah, I
spatial
noticed.
expression.
Caught the edge.
But no, the project went really well, and you've been in some of my other classes before, and I'd seen the work that you've done before, so I felt confident enough going.
You picked each other.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, that
is
was
true.
Yeah.
You chose each
Yeah.
other. You could pick who's on.
It
your
wasn't
team.
an assigned thing,
No.
so it worked out very well, and I knew going in, okay, Diego's responsible. You know, gonna get this done. It's gonna be fine.
It should be fine.
And you showed up very early, and you know, I felt confident the whole time with your direction.
And how is the project coming now? Like, what
Yeah.
are you satisfied with?
So I have to do. I'm pretty satisfied with how I laid it out, just because having the creator with a lot of quotes, the Creator Deserve Festival. I kind of used her as like an overarching theme, and then just kind of have it spread throughout. So I'm very excited for it, just because I'm not used to working on a project that'd be like 5 minutes long. Also, but I felt like it's going well. I get very nitpicky about things. So I've been going in and just like sometimes just swapping out clips for other ones, stuff like that. But I'm excited for it. But
I can't help but comment on how confident
Yeah.
you are, and even using the right terms, like to
Yeah.
think about us on day one, and think about what you're saying now. It's like I wouldn't have imagined.
no, I wouldn't have either.
Right? I mean, that's me. I wouldn't have imagined that you would be so confident and so knowledgeable about the process, about what to do, and where you, like, to be able to even self-assess
Oh yeah.
is pretty amazing, I think. Are you feeling the same way, both of you?
Yeah, our project has been a whirlwind, but it's come together very well, like with the clips. Our script is pretty straightforward, and we had, in the very beginning, it was...
And yours is the Jackie profile. So we
yes.
have a student in class
Yes.
Right.
who is an actress and,
28-year-old mom, and she got her associate's degree, and she decided to go back to get her bachelor's, following her passion for environmental journalism. And so working on that, and she's worked on some pretty big sets with stars like Reese Witherspoon, and just filling in. So she knows the trials and tribulations of just getting into the film industry here in Atlanta. And so for her to be pursuing that, and also the bachelor's degree has been, like, that's just a wonderful story in my eyes, and very encouraging to anyone who might think it's too late.
And also from the technical perspective, like the production perspective of it, how do you feel? Like, tell us a little bit about the process that you went through. Again, things that you wouldn't have imagined on day one that you would even know today about how a story like this can be put together.
So the different sets, so getting the B-roll. I thought that was honestly something a little too much, like, having to drive to different places.
Yeah, we
and
went to
getting
the
Tyler Perry
Studio.
we went to Scream Jam Studios. But this, like, to get this story put together, we're telling her story. And we're showing the different places that she started to get to the point that she is now. So that requires all the time and the logistics of getting everyone's time availability and making sure, can you make it? Yes, I can. So flexibility is what it came down to me, and I made sure, me as the lead producer, I was available to make sure that everyone could make it on each and every single day that we were shooting.
Yeah, you did have to manage so many people
did.
and so many requirements and all that, but you're feeling confident.
I am feeling very confident,
Right?
yes. We
Very
have
good.
we have a great editor. Duncan has done an incredible job. I have done an incredible job. Jackie, who has been co-producer. The rest of the team has done an incredible job from getting it started to the point that it is now. I'm very confident.
And we look forward, of course, to watching it and
Yes.
airing it on GSUTV and Georgia Public Broadcasting. And Alex, your story, which I was able to view, like the rough cut
Edit,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I did a story over Girls Who Code's first ever hackathon, all-female hackathon, which, I think an interesting part of journalism is telling stories that don't, are unique like this and, kind of big moments like this, because most hackathons, at least in my knowledge, and I have a very limited knowledge of CS, computer science stuff, are, and the tech industry in general is very male dominated. So seeing an organization like this in the first place is great. Seeing them throw a really successful event is even better. But no, the technical aspect, when I tell you I was dreading the day of shooting just because I didn't sleep the night before.
You had stomachache.
Yeah,
and
it was.
you were nervous.
Yeah, and
See,
that's
now,
just
someone watching us now and seeing how cool you are and you speaking the language.
It's all a
and
facade.
It's like it's not a facade, but it's like
No,
it took you a long. It's a long journey to be. But I'm proud of you because I'm watching you go. Oh my goodness, you're speaking like professionals. Like seriously, like you're talking about your projects like a professional producer of an actual documentary or a package or news report or feature. Yes, continue.
But yeah, and it's like you said, it's a long journey to get to this point in the first place. Especially being, I'm as confident as my maximum confidence level is already fairly low. So I'm as confident as I think I can be with my project, especially after getting feedback. And I have to say you've been very involved with the process, which eases my mind a lot. It helps to get notes and edits and comments straight from the source. That's going to be grading. Not only that, but also
just the grading,
right? It's the experience.
It's the experience,
exactly.
right? Like helping you see what real life is going to ask of you. Yeah. Whereas in other classes, it's like, produce a 2-minute package at 1 minute, and it goes, it goes into a drawer, or we grade it, and you get a grade, and whatever the grade is, fine. But when you work towards something that's going to go to air, and of course, not everything is going to go to air. We might have packages that don't make it, right? They don't have the standard that we need, but. All of yours look like they're on the path to broadcasting, so that's good. But it's also, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about the grade; it's more about, and that's where I would feel that I hope, and I'm hearing it in your voices anyway, that you're feeling confident. Like, you're not going, oh my gosh, oh my God. You're confident that you did your piece, and your piece is going to be good, and it's going to air. Now, what the grade is, I'm not worried about that, and I hope you're not worried about that either. No. The most important part is really the journey, like what you went through, the camaraderie that was created, the friendship. You'll never forget each other. Right. I'll never forget you.
And I'll never forget you.
Okay, I think Raymond wants to give me some feedback.
Oh my God, no, you were wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, you're so sweet.
You being hands-on and coming to every shoot, that meant, like, from the very beginning, that honestly, from a student, like, professor perspective, I was like, amazing. Like, wow, she's literally making time. You showed up on time. You helped us. Well, I'm not show up on time, whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you were there, you were present. You weren't just saying, I'm going to come.
No, but that's
right.
important.
But some professors might say that and show up like.
Right. It is. I think it is important because also it's important that you notice, because it's important for me to be there on time.
Right.
Or ahead of you.
Yeah.
Or, so you learn that when you're working, again, on a team, on a shoot, you just show up. And see how you felt when people didn't show up to your project. It's part of the learning experience.
You didn't expect us to be experts or, from the setting up, and you would tell us, okay, so now that's good. Like, just guiding us, not spoon feeding us, but just being like, that's a good shot, and affirming. Like, I'm a person who loves affirmation, and I need a little bit of that sometimes.
You need a lot of that. Not all the time.
Not all the time. I'm very sure about myself, but anyone loves affirmation.
It's good to know that you're on the right track.
Yes,
that's good. Yeah.
I think the way that you operated this class in going out and helping people and being active in the entire process is why I actually really like GSU, especially the journalism program, because we have people who are so experienced and who have actually They didn't just study this and immediately start teaching. They've done work for years and years. So it's actual tangible experience that is being transferred, not just reading out of a book. Oh, here's how you set up a shot. No, show me how to do it. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this class went so well. So thanks.
You did not say anything
I
about
was,
the class.
I was going
You
to.
think I'm not noticing?
No, I was going
You
to.
should
I
know
was
by
going
now
to.
that I didn't notice.
Oh, you do notice.
But I did want to touch on I think in teammates and especially professors, I really value attentiveness. Like on my project, I valued Alex's attentiveness. Just communication. It can be the smallest thing, like, do you like this shot, or what should we do here? Actually being engaged. And on my shoot, I liked your engagement. I like that you were giving us tips, also, especially during some downtime when we're getting B-roll. And I value it heavily because I'm a student. I want to learn. But I learned so much just in one shoot. And I think even though there were 2 other projects where I wasn't producing them, I still, I'd listen as much as I could, because you're bestowing knowledge upon us, and I want to take as much as I can. And I appreciate the tough love, but still a laid back style that kind of I think respects us a lot.
That's what it is. It's respect.
Because hand holding, I can deal with it, but
You gotta
give it to me straight.
there,
No,
Tell me what needs to be done here.
Or at least allow, I appreciate that you kind of let us do, and then, interact with us after the fact, because it just at least lets us show what we know.
Right.
Or lets us at least play around a little bit to understand. I think that's what I valued a lot about this class, and probably just why I have so much confidence now, just because I was allowed to work, and if anything was wrong, then I'd hear about it and I'll remember.
Yeah, and also, that goes back to the fact that no one is expecting you to be a professional. You're a student, and we want this class to be your transition, from a student life to career. So if this did that, if it bridged, the student life to your career, then we succeeded. This is how I feel, and I appreciate all your comments, and we are coming to the end of this wonderful, wonderful conversation. I really appreciate everything you shared, and I think this is it. I will close this podcast by saying thank you to Diego, to Raymond, and to Alex for being here, for helping us launch this podcast. And I look forward to staying in touch beyond our practicum. I also look forward to seeing your final packages. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much.